Serious, what's a time you seriously contemplated suicide, and why you didn't go through with it? February 22, 2019. I had been unemployed for almost 3 months. I was 27 and still lived at home. I had just fallen for one of those scam jobs they offer you via email because of how desperate I was. I went behind my parents' house and stood on top a cliff ready to throw myself off. Before I jumped, I remembered the next day was my sister's birthday and I didn't want to ruin it by offing myself. So I decided to continue living for the time being and look hard to find work so I could go from there. 2 weeks later I was offered a real job, and months later, I moved into my first apartment. I haven't had any problems staying employed since, and I've been to counseling for my depression, which has helped a lot. Celebrating my 30th birthday in 3 weeks. This absolutely breaks my heart. My wife and I lost a child to trisomy 18, and he was stillborn. We have learned that grief acts like the tides. It was super strong and constant at first, slowly ebbing with time. Never gone, just less intense and less frequent. Seeing her struggle with the loss was almost more than I could take. I'm glad you're still here. I never understood the idea of support animals until recently. I've had depression since I was in junior high and I'm 28 now. I got a dog pretty much right at the beginnings of my depression because I wanted one and my parents thought it might help. I loved that dog. But she was a rescue and had been abused. She was not cuddly. She loved me but hated most other people, especially guys. So while she was always right by my side, when I would get suicidal I couldn't snuggle her the way I needed in order to feel better. Unfortunately, she died a few years ago at 12 years old. I got another dog after her, 2 actually, a Chihuahua and a Cocker Spaniel. They both love to cuddle, but my Chihuahua will really save me when I'm suicidal. She will let me hold her to my chest and hug and pet her for as long as I want. For me, lately, when I'm suicidal, I get so tight in my chest and all the emotional pain just manifests there. For some reason this just makes me want to stab it. Holding her there releases all that. Then just the love she gives off and my love for her and knowing how much she needs me just brings me back to a manageable level. She's honestly been a miracle for me. I reached out to an old army buddy of mine and asked could I room with him for a bit. He and I were really close, to the point that people thought we were intimately close. However, he's going through a divorce, so I had to put my suicidal thoughts to the side to make sure he's all right. I told him I wanted to commit suicide. He knows. I just don't want to do it at his place. Not when his daughter may be able to see it. I seriously have no one in this world, so what's the point in staying? It sounds stupid, but try getting a pet. I commented on my experience with animals saving me from suicide in another response, so it's a little of a repeat, but I think someone to cuddle and hold when you're feeling awful can be so helpful. Plus, having someone who relies on you can be very motivating. You would always have someone who would be there for you. It's just a thought though. 7. There's no innate purpose in anything. That's anthropomorphizing the chaos of the universe. But you were born, whether you like it or not, so you might as well make the best of it, and see if you can do some good in the world so that there will be a purpose to it. You will die later anyway, so even if that is your wish, it will be granted eventually. But wouldn't it be interesting to see what else you could do with life if you stuck around a little longer? This comment is really long, but I hope it will help you in some way. Hi, I'm 19 and thought like you a lot before. I never told anyone about my thoughts. I was not suicidal, but thinking about how life made no sense often made me have panic attacks and really depressed, along with being thanatophobic. Being thanatophobic throughout a large part of my childhood made me think about life and death a lot, and even now, but it's way less intense. The answer is subjective, but mine was picking a bunch of things I like to do. I have ADHD, so I can't manage to make my mind up and stay on a particular hobby, except for drawing. Technically everything I do is useless, but I found a goal I wanna achieve through these useless things, such as impacting a person so much with my cool looking drawings in the future to want to make that person begin to draw or take even a tiny bit of inspiration from me. Of course I will never know if I achieved that specific goal, which is really important for me, but it's not the only one I have. I guess that the answer to me is to kinda mind game your own mind into liking an objective you will only know you accomplish through omniscience, which is near impossible if nobody tells you directly, and thus I can never feel as if I failed. I actually understood your words. Thank you for that. As a faintly similar goal to yours, I felt my life's goal was to save, heal, and protect as many people as I could. I don't like seeing people hurt. It makes me sad and want to give them my all. After reading your words, I realized that was pretty naive of me due to my inability to be omniscient. I'll never know if I've failed or succeeded in that, and there's no way to know. Or I could have interpreted your words incorrectly. If so, my apologies. Freshman year of college. Hours away from home. Didn't know anybody. Very lonely. I was having a really tough time when the thought of suicide crossed my mind. It scared me and I called student health services and I was on hold with a wait time. I was really irritated that I was on hold. Don't they know I needed help? When someone finally came on the line and I spoke 2 sentences about why I was calling, they interrupted me to ask, "Is this an emergency?" It pissed me off. I said no. It isn't. And I angrily slammed down the phone. I don't know what it was about being mad that snapped me out of it, but I got out of my slump, made friends, studied hard, and enjoyed my years at college. Freshman year of college. Hours away from home. Didn't know anybody. Very lonely. I was having a really tough time when the thought of suicide crossed my mind. It scared me and I called student health services and I was on hold with a wait time. I was really irritated that I was on hold. Don't they know I needed help? When someone finally came on the line and I spoke 2 sentences about why I was calling, they interrupted me to ask, "Is this an emergency?" It pissed me off. I said no. It isn't. And I angrily slammed down the phone. I don't know what it was about being mad that snapped me out of it, but I got out of my slump, made friends, studied hard, and enjoyed my years at college. Meaning will come to you. You'll find that there is something only you can pull off. Whether it's saving a loved one from a bad situation or standing by for someone who needs you, or even just finding what makes you happy all on your own, you'll get your meaning in life as you continue on your journey. Sometimes just having your fur babies there to give your love to is a good indicator that you've already got a little bit of something to live for, and it makes you stronger each day. When you can't live for yourself, live for them. Red Heart. When I was in middle school I took medication that if it wasn't taken with food could cause serious stomach pain and nausea and could make you really sick and ill-feeling. I don't know if I could have actually overdosed on it, but at this one point in my life all I wanted to do was take them all and at least try. I remember being so desperate, rifling through the cabinets for the pill bottle to take them all, and then stopped when I realized my mom had drawn a smiley face on the lid of the pill bottle. It shocked me, I had never seen it before. But it was such a mom thing to do, and it just made me think of her and how distraught she would be if I took them and even made such an attempt, not to mention if it actually had succeeded. I broke down in tears, put the bottle back where it was supposed to be, and took myself to bed. I still think of this time to time whenever I have those same suicidal thoughts and impulsive tendencies to do something dangerous. Quite often the last 7 or so years. For a few periods it got weirdly hard not to slam my car into a brick wall when I was just going to the shops or coming back from dropping my kid off at school. Pretty much the only reason I don't is because my kid would then be stuck with my psycho ex who already tried to stab her for playing too loud. Someone's gotta keep her safe and I can't count on my parents surviving another decade. Just a couple weeks ago. I struggle with PTSD, anxiety, and extremely treatment-resistant depression. I also work in the COVID ICU. I am so tired of fighting. Honestly, the only thing that stopped me was knowing how much my parents and sister would be hurt. The guilt of hurting them was the only thing that stopped me. I am feeling better now and haven't had suicidal thoughts for about a week and a half and have started on a new treatment. Almost 100% of the time suicide crosses my mind is because of me seeing my friends hanging out and being friends on social media. Then from there my thoughts begin to snowball from different memories of when I used to hang out with them, and then random thoughts and assumptions of them not liking or not wanting to be around me. Then it turns into me being disappointed in my life and in the fact that I feel as if I've never accomplished anything in my life. Usually the only thing that stops me is that I'm not intuitive enough to figure how to kill myself with the stuff in my house. For what it's worth, you gotta stay here for her if for no other reason. It's bigger than you, and always will be. Lost my mom to suicide when I was 6, and let me tell you, it is not fair to send her off into the world with that burden. There's a vicious thought loop associated with selfishness and guilt, but hopefully for now, you can find a way to make a life about her or someone else, and you will realize you are special and needed. The gun didn't go off. After I lost my mother when I was 14, I didn't have anyone to go to because my stepdad abused me, and as far as his family was concerned, I was only my mother's child. They didn't care about me and treated me as an outcast, while my brother and sister, who were his, got the attention they needed to cope with the loss. I never did and was alone. So I got a weapon from someone I knew, and while on the beach late one night I put it to my head and pulled the trigger. When I did, the hammer went off, but all I heard was a click. I checked the weapon, saw the safety was off. I removed the round and saw the dent on the primer cap, but it didn't go off. Think it was my mom. I didn't try again. Hopefully gets lost in the comments. I was 17 at the time, really depressed about how my life was going, family problems, image issues, love problems. Pretty typical problems for a teenager, in all honesty. Had been driving around my hometown for a couple of hours and decided that it was time. Found a flat stretch of road, drive as fast as my car would go, was gonna drive it into a guardrail. I think what stopped me was the immense fear of me surviving and being fucked beyond repair. I could never be the type to pull the trigger on myself, although have considered jumping off a bridge a time or two since. But a song came on and I just started hysterically crying. To this day, every time I hear that song I break down a bit just because of the magnitude of the situation for me. I'd say I'm better now, still have dark thoughts from time to time, but can cope better. Hopefully gets lost in the comments. I was 17 at the time, really depressed about how my life was going, family problems, image issues, love problems. Pretty typical problems for a teenager, in all honesty. Had been driving around my hometown for a couple of hours and decided that it was time. Found a flat stretch of road, drive as fast as my car would go, was gonna drive it into a guardrail. I think what stopped me was the immense fear of me surviving and being fucked beyond repair. I could never be the type to pull the trigger on myself, although have considered jumping off a bridge a time or two since. But a song came on and I just started hysterically crying. To this day, every time I hear that song I break down a bit just because of the magnitude of the situation for me. I'd say I'm better now, still have dark thoughts from time to time, but can cope better. Honestly, I pussied out. Planned a day, thought about what my tombstone was say, had a plan and everything. Planned a day the house would be empty, but my brother's GF was home and I didn't want her to be the one to find my body. Now I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life and am on medication. There's hope and it might not come tomorrow or the next day, but it gets better. If you need a sign and I can help anyone, don't do it. If someone hasn't told you this today, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Smiley face.